My whole name is Sylvia Cabeza de Vaca de Samuelson. That's my real name. Mm-hmm.
And when did you first arrive in San Miguel?
Oh, my dear, that was like 63 years ago. The date.
1952.
1952. Just came for overnight, and I'm still here. And I'm still here.
How old were you when you came?
I was 25.
Yeah.
24, 25. I had been a nurse, a registered nurse. And when he finished, got his master's in Chicago, and we got married and stuff, let's go someplace on a honeymoon. And I said, I've never been to Mexico, even though I'm from New Mexico. But I said, I've always wanted to go to Old Mexico. And that's how we ended up here in Old Mexico.
And what made you stay?
Oh, you couldn't leave it. Once you got here, you just couldn't leave it. There were about 13 North Americans living here, and we met them immediately. We stayed at the Posada de San Francisco. And one said, we're having a party tonight. You're invited. So who can say no to a party? We went to a party, met all of the North Americans and about 3 or 4 Canadians. And loved them all. They were just so nice, so hospitable. And we were leaving the following day, and we said, let's stay one more day. And we did. And then someone offered us an apartment. And they said, and it was cute. You know, they had a bedroom, living room, kitchen, and a bathroom for $10 a month.
Wow.
And he said, $10 a month. The refrigerator we had to share with somebody. And some bodies were very well known. It was like the Smarts and the McDonald's and we all became, friends. And we said, well, why don't we just stay here for a few days? We had $500 to our name at that point. So we thought we'd put in the $500 and stay on. Everybody loved the foreigners, we were considered foreigners. All the Mexicans that lived here. And there weren't, it was a small town. So we thought, okay, we'll stay here and see what it is all about. So that same day, somebody brought 2 dogs that had been deserted and said, would you take them? He said, sure. So there were 2 dachshunds. We took the 2 dachshunds, and so already we have a family, and we had no children, see. And we thought, well, that's pretty good. We have 2 dogs, and so my husband, Fred, would take them for a walk up here on Santo Domingo, and he met Sterling Dickinson, who lived right up the street. And Sterling, who loved dogs, said, oh, let's talk. And what do you do? And blah, blah, blah. And he said, how would you like a job at the Instituto? We just opened it a few months ago. It's an art school. And well, I still had that $500, so why not? Even though I think the Instituto was paying very little, like $40 a month or something. And everything was so inexpensive then that we said, sure, let's do it. We didn't have anybody to go back to. So he started teaching at the Instituto, and there I was with the two dogs, and I started a little rental business. People would come into town, and so I had, I think, about 4 houses. So with that, we were sitting on top of the world. We had money and friends, and one of the people that were staying with in this little compound was Richard McDonald or something like that, and he wrote an article on San Miguel and the people that were staying here, and it was published in the States, and people started to come into San Miguel. And the Mexicans thought it was great. We started to rent their houses, and we'd all see each other in the jardín. It was such a sweet, wonderful. You could go any place, leave your doors open. You wouldn't have to leave lights on. Everything was so secure. Just beautiful, beautiful people that they are. They're so beautiful people. But, so one month led to another, and on and on and on, and now then we had 2 children that we adopted here in San Miguel, and then with the money we had, we started, well, let's stay on here for a little longer. Met some people who were building up here by the name of Kahn, Kahn. They would pronounce it Kahn. Their name was Kahn, but they pronounce it Kahn. And they said, let's go up and take a look, and we just felt there's nothing, no roads. Up here there was no trees. So we bought this lot.
This lot?
Yeah, this lot where we're sitting. And we didn't know when we'd ever build. We stayed on over there. But we started saving our little, my husband started painting, and then people had read this article, started to come to San Miguel. And when they came to San Miguel, there's no art galleries, nothing. So they would come to the house and maybe buy a little painting or 2, very reasonably, $25, $50. And other artists started to come. Well, Romeo Taborino, who sells in the thousands and thousands now, I think he's still living, and he was selling his work for $40, big paintings. It was, other artists started to come in, and the Instituto started to blossom. people would come down here for the summer or for the winter and rent a house, $40 a month or $50 a month, and fell in love with it. That was the beginning of San Miguel.
Could you describe a typical day from that time? What you might do in a typical day?
Oh, we would go down, the girls usually would meet at Bougainvillea, which is down on the square, and it was a coffee place. And that's where, say, a limousine would come in, and this limousine would come in from Mexico City, and that was the tourist people. They came into this limousine, you know, like 3 or 4 of them, and we'd meet them and we'd talk to them, and we told them about San Miguel, and before you know it, they would tell somebody else, and San Miguel started to grow. It was just the sweetest town that you ever, you know, there aren't very, like I say, I'm the last of the Americans.
The original Americans.
The original Americans. They've all, when Hunter Wilson passed away last year, he had been the last. And most of these people that started to come to San Miguel were ex-GIs. They had just gotten out of World War II and had gotten this, like a scholarships, I don't know what you call them now, and wanted to be artists. They would come to San Miguel, and not that they really wanted to be artists. They wanted a different place, and we had La Cucaracha right there on the square, which was a bar. And that's where the Americans were, the Mexican and the Americans would meet together and drink together. And the Americans, you know, with their typewriters and all, would just, oh, I'll give you the typewriter. To his name, Chucho was the owner of the place. And then when I get some money, I'll get it back from you. Chucho had his second floor. The place is a small place, the Cucaracha.
How many bars were there in town?
Huh? How many what?
How many bars were there in town beside the Cucaracha?
Well, that was the only bar that you'd go to. Oh, you could go to the Posada de San Francisco, you know, but that was kind of dull. And then the El Patio opened up, and when the El Patio opened up, then the ladies could go, you know, all dressed up. And that was the beginning of San Miguel. Then it just started to spread wide open. It flowed, you know. Just, Millie, leave, Millie.
It's okay. It's okay.
Millicent.
It's okay.
Oh, God. She's not used to company because I haven't been going out much. But it was a lovely little town. And maybe 3 years later or 4 years later, people like Betty Kempe, and all those other people started to come down here. They had just gotten a divorce or something and had kids. And a school opened. Augusta Irving opened a school for the little gringo kids, you know.
Augusta.
Augusta. Uh-huh. And
Now we're in the 60s.
now we're in the 60s.
And then what happened in the 70s and then the 80s?
Just grew. Just grew. When we opened up the art gallery, 1964 or 60, I can't remember the date, when there was no art gallery. And there were all these artists that were coming into town, didn't have any place to show their art. So there were 5 of these guys who used to meet once a week and discuss art. And they said, why don't we open an art gallery? And they said, yeah. So they looked around, and we thought then the Casa Canal was perfect for it, with all the rooms and the patio stuff. But we'd have to put a new roof on it, and we'd have to do a lot of repairs. And then we heard the Banco del Centro was moving, and they were on the corner of the square, And the rent was $600. But we said, well, if we all put in $25 a month, we can rent it. So that's what we did. And it was fun. But we had a lot of openings. Everybody had openings every week. And that's when we used to serve martinis with the olive, No, we don't even serve anything. 50 years. 50 years I had that gallery. And and now it started to go downhill. And then my rent went up. My landlady, I was paying like 200,000 pesos, which would be about $20,000 a month, and it went up. And I said, but why, Lucina? And she said, because we're going to have a bank. We want a bank here. A bank wants this location. So I moved out, and I have them stacked. If I were to come now, I would think it was great. But when I came, it was so teensy. It was smaller than Comanford, since it was very small. The parochial was there, It was already there. And the square was there. It was a sweet town, if you can say sweet. Oh, to do over again. Now I go downtown and I know the shoe shine guys. I know a couple of those. And the other people I don't know, because they're all new in San Miguel. And now they're thinking like I thought 60 years ago. They've made their own little groups, just like we did then, made our own little groups. And well, all those people are gone. You have to die sometime. After being here all these years, that I'm the last American woman who's been here, I think, the longest. I don't know anybody anymore. They're all gone. If I had to live my life over again, I would want to live it the way I did then. This is my home. This is where I'm going to die. I hope they don't ship me anyplace.